Hello there everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Sheehan Show on video. My name is Sean Sheehan and with me is Patrick Sheehan here to put questions to me and topics. If you haven't seen this before, if you're only a Patreon subscriber, Patrick basically brings up the topics from the week. I answer them and we have a bit of a chat and that's it. We might put it on YouTube regularly for free. We might not. Sign up on Patreon anyway, patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast, and we'll see how it goes. Let's get straight into it. You don't want to hear me talking. Well, you do want to hear me talking, but you want to hear me talking about shite. So, Patrick, go on. First topic.
So, coming up this weekend, of course, we have UFC London. And featured there is Irish Joe Duffy.
Yeah.
So, there's been a bit of talk on social media about him. People, the likes of Paul Redmond is saying it's a disgrace that he doesn't get national media outlets aren't covering him. And he deserves it. So, what do you think?
Look, the thing about that is, I agree with him, and I think everyone would agree with him. Like everyone who loves MMA wants to see MMA in the, in the Mirror and in the Independent, the Examiner, and all that. But is it realistic? Is it realistic to be thinking of that and wanting that all the time, or should you be supporting the people who are actually doing it? My thing, I was thinking about this morning, and okay, if you want the best case scenario, is it for it to be in the papers and for PT to have a job writing for the Independent or the Examiner or whatever, and Niall's doing it off the ball. In fairness, he's doing a good job. The RT guys, the 2FM guys have it on often, but it's usually McGregor, it's usually a big card, it's usually an Irish card or something like that. Not Joseph Duffy's on the prelims against Mark Casey. That's something that doesn't get much mainstream coverage unless it's Niall doing it, unless it's me doing it, unless it's PT doing it or someone like that. So, right, you can have that. It'd be great if we had that. Look, if RT want me to come on and do a podcast for them, 100%, I'll do it. But I think we're moving away from that. I think the world is moving away from that. The world is moving to things like this, or to things like, PT and I doing the Eurobash, or the lads and obviously Fight Talk, or, Jerry doing great work for KO Media, and so support us, support PT, support, Noel and the boys. So, I think that's what you need to get behind. Don't, okay, it's not going to be in the mainstream. Fuck the mainstream. Fuck the mainstream media in covering MMA. Support MMA people covering MMA. We do a podcast here every week. I did 10-15 minutes this week talking about Mark Casey against Joseph Duffy. The coverage is there. The media are covering it. We're here. We're the media. We're covering it. Why do you want some fella who's never watched an MMA fight in his life to go on the Examiner or the Independent and write an article? Okay, might want me to do it. You might want PT to do it. That's fair enough. But I think we need to stop striving for that, and we need to strive for us doing it. Strive for the MMA media. Get us doing it. As you can hear, someone cutting wood down outside.
That's
grand. That should be pretty good. Go on anyway.
Right.
The fight. Hold on. The fight.
Yes.
I might as well talk about it because that's what they want. They want people talking about the fight. The fight's a good fight. The fight's a good fight. It's an interesting one. Joseph Duffy's a very, very good fighter, but the thing is, can Joseph Duffy take that next level? Can he become a top 10, top 5 champion level fighter? And I suppose the same questions there for Mark Casey, but Mark Casey is maybe more to prove than Joseph Duffy because he lost more fights and stuff like that. But I think Mark Casey has a very, very high a very, very high threshold or somewhere he can go very, very high. Yeah. I don't know if Joseph Duffy has as high as Mark Casey, which is odd because most people would probably favour Joseph Duffy, I think, this weekend. But at this stage of their careers, it's a very interesting fight. I
think it's a very close fight.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah. Joseph Duffy is very good on the ground, very good jiu-jitsu. Mark Casey is very good wrestling as well. And then the striking in is probably where most people will see it going or see the fight taking place, because Joseph Duffy is obviously a very, very good technical fighter. He's 7-0 as a boxer and all that.
It's been a while since we've seen him.
It's been a while. He's been out injured and stuff. And Mark Casey, it could be his last life in the UFC. If he loses this fight, he mightn't have a job in the UFC anymore. And it's a big fight for him. Will he try to take it down? Will he try to wrestle Joseph Duffy? I think it's a very interesting fight and a very good card this weekend. Obviously, UFC London is pretty good.
Yeah. So an Irishman who has been in in all the headlines is Mr. McGregor.
There you go,
the incident with the phone. The guy now involved said that he's going. Said that he feared for his life and now he's suing him.
God help us.
So as they do in America.
The thing about this is this is what you get when you're a star. This is what you get. Like, I was thinking about this and what are we going to talk about it next week in the podcast. I was like, this should be for a whiskey podcast, really, or an entertainment weekly podcast. This isn't really nothing got to do with an MMA podcast. That's only though it's an MMA fighter. Like, he's not really even fighting in MMA, talking about fighting in MMA anymore. Like, there's talk of the Cerrone fight, but then there's talk of it not happening and everything. But look, he is an MMA fighter, the most famous MMA fighter of all time.
He wants to fight soon.
Yeah, but look. Yeah. It's a small incident, really, in the grand scheme of things. You can look back at other incidents, and people, every time we do something like this, people talk about, oh, so he threw the bus through the dolly. Yeah, I went on the podcast at the time and said that was a disgrace and all. What did I say? Bus through the dolly? Jesus, he's very fucking strong, isn't he? Fucking hell. But yeah, look, it's a minor enough incident. Your man was, what was your man doing? Like, he's probably, oh, come on, Conor, take a picture.
Apparently he was talking about Habib and slagging him over that.
Yeah, look, it's a minor enough incident. Your man's gonna sue him. I think he's suing for 15 grand. I was like, it's probably
15 grand.
Probably save McGregor fucking just here a grand. You can have the 15 grand. Let's just forget about it.
Maybe a week's interest on his.
It's money. A minor enough incident. I think the biggest issue is like it's all around. Like, that had happened, and then you had obviously the Habib stuff, and you had the whole Bellator stuff, and that I think it's like in general McGregor being like when you get to start, like, the thing about McGregor is, I was thinking about this. Everyone now thinks of McGregor as the star and maybe gone, his ego is gone insane and everything, but I actually think it's kind of the opposite. I think McGregor needs to realise more that he's a star, because you wouldn't see Julia Roberts doing that, like,
the responsibility that comes with it.
You wouldn't see LeBron James doing that. Like, it's grand to say, oh, I want to stay, I'm from Crumlin and I want to be the person I've always been and all. And you can do that, but you have to realise what you are as well. You have to realise that you're a worldwide sporting star, and if someone sees you out, they're going to try to hassle you and take pictures of you, and you have to be ready for that. And I'm sure he is ready for that. He's had an awful lot of it, and I'm not one to talk about that, but maybe you have to do a thing where instead of walking around outside, you get someone to pick you up right at the door, and you're surrounded by your security, and you say absolutely nothing to no one.
Let your bodyguard smash the phones.
Exactly. Yeah, let Dave Fogarty smash the phones. Yeah, but look. It's a thing in that, really. Let's be honest. He should have had his case in his phone, as Robbie Fox said.
So he needs something to do. He needs a fight.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, hopefully.
So another fighter in his division, of course. There's a bit of news about him. Is Tony Ferguson.
Yeah. The thing about this is, if people haven't heard, as we're live in the man cave, actually. Did I say it? We're here in the man cave anyway. Beautiful. But anyway, Tony Ferguson. Look, the thing about Tony Ferguson is, if people read it, like they said, it's not domestic violence for Tony Ferguson. It's he's had erratic behaviour, and his wife got a restraining order. So he never hit his wife or anything. He never did anything. She's just a bit worried that he might do something crazy or something like that. Which is, this is a good time to catch something like that. Step away, get your therapy, or get work with the doctors and the medical teams or whatever like that. This could turn into something that's good in the long run for Tony Ferguson.
He's always been quirky.
He's always, like, people will remember the Ultimate Fighter. He's always, I don't like to say he's always had kind of problems like that. Maybe never anything as serious as this, but I think his upbringing and stuff like that is a thing that's going to affect him. And look, hopefully he can get the help he needs, and himself and his wife and his child can figure all this out. But look, I think the most important thing is he's not done anything terrible yet. So I think take your time here. Give Tony Ferguson, maybe not give him the benefit of the doubt, but give the situation the benefit of the doubt. Let it play out. Let the experts come in here and do their work, and we'll see how it plays out, as Dana White would probably say.
Yeah, another incident which did turn violent was Rachel Ostovich, and her husband has pleaded no contest to assault charges, likely to avoid jail time. So.
Oh really? What's that?
The Berdon fella.
So does that, like, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I don't know what no contest is exactly.
So he's facing no jail time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, they're always difficult ones. Myself and Graham always talk about them. Like, you're obviously going to feel very bad for the victim, but you need to go through court, and we have to find out what happened and who's wrong, and and obviously in this case you think more than likely that it's obviously Rachel Ostovich. But if he avoids jail time and all, like, I don't know the ins and outs of the situation, but I suppose that's another thing we kind of have to leave play out, and see what happens with it. But look, she's back and she's fighting anyway, and she had a good fight with Paige Van Zandt, and hopefully, look, she can move on from that kind of situation as well.
She's talented.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Dern.
That noise is very loud.
Yeah.
I hope people can hear. If you can hear it,
no, it's not too
apologies.
bad. I think I can only hear it.
Oh yeah,
I can't hear it through the earphones, but I can hear it through just from outside.
Okay.
Mackenzie Dern. She says she wants to come back in 2019.
She's pregnant, didn't she?
Despite having the baby, she says she wants to come back
in 2019.
Yeah.
How far gone is she?
She might be. She's 2 months shy of giving birth.
Oh really? Oh, she could.
Yeah.
So what have we now? In March, May. Yeah, she could. Yeah,
she could.
Yeah, she probably could. Although, she could. Yeah, just have a baby and fine. Yeah,
yeah.
But look, the timing is probably there.
There's a lot of healing.
Weight and stuff is obviously going to be an issue.
All
it's
depends
hard
on how it goes as well.
Depends how it goes.
Every pregnancy is different.
It is, 100%. But like, do you see the weird thing about Mackenzie Dern? When she announced she was pregnant, she lost like 30,000 Instagram followers straight away.
Really?
What a bunch of creeps! Yeah. What that is madness!
She's
I don't know the exact number now. It was like what's his name? Jed Goodman. Jedi Goodman. Yeah, he's a great fellow. Over and shout out over on Twitter. He tweeted out. So yeah, that's a bit weird. Look, hopefully I was very surprised, obviously, because you don't kind of expect it when it's someone professional like that. But look. It's human nature, I suppose. These things happen in MMA.
And in pregnancy.
Indeed.
So, Jorge Masvidal, he's been speaking.
Is it Jorge or George?
Jorge?
I think it's George. You go with Jorge, I'll go with George.
Okay. Mr. Masvidal has been warns that this is the headline. I think it's slightly embellished. That MMA trash talk could turn fatal.
Fatal.
Ben Askren. Now he said, I don't. You don't deserve to fight me, but we could fight in the streets. I'm gonna fight you when I meet you anyway.
Really? What's Ben Askren said about him?
Oh, he's coming over to London and he's just been taking the piss out of himself and Till. He says he wants to fight them next.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd be more concentrated on Darren Till. I saw a lot of people talking about him. There was like a 5-minute video and I was like falling asleep last night. I was like, I'm not watching that. But a lot of people talking about him. Like Masvidal's good. He's a good fighter as well. Like someone, I think it was Conor Rebush put it up last night that he's like grappled with Damian Maia and boxed with Wonderboy Thompson. Now he's lost most of those fights. He's 1-5 against guys who fought for the UFC Championship belt, which isn't a good record, but he's also fought 6 guys who fought for the UFC Championship belt. So, he's a good fighter and he's a good level. Like, I wrote an article over on Sherdog, check it out, Sherdog.com. And it talked about the welterweight division and how Masvidal is a guy you don't really see in most divisions. Now, you might get one in bantamweight or other strong divisions or lightweight, yeah. But you wouldn't see a guy like this in heavyweight or in light heavyweight or anything like that who's like, I think he's ranked like 7th or 8th or something, but he should be like a top 14, 15 type of fighter, and you wouldn't see someone as good and tough as that in most divisions. And he's a hard guy to get over, even for Darren Till, who is a top 3 or 4 in the division. Arguably, anyway, I suppose we'll see. The only one he's really beaten is Donald Cerrone. He beat Wonderboy, and he didn't win that fight. But like that was a proven fight, and I think he proved a lot in that fight. He was really good in that fight. He won, but most people think he lost. But Masvidal's a tough task for him. It should be a good fight. Like, I was thinking, I was talking to you about it the other day. I think, like, Masvidal, will he try to wrestle Till? Now, Till is very big. Like, Till's probably a middleweight in the making, and Masvidal is a lightweight. And will he be able to get him to the ground? If he is,
Till has that McGregor thing about him now that fighters might be thinking just take him down. And
that could be it as well. Like, but
they might see that bad either, as you think,
And like, Woodley beat him by knocking him down. Like, he nearly knocked him out with that big shot as well. So it wasn't really he did take him down in the first round, I think, as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, Masvidal, I did a rewatch over on Patreon as well. Masvidal's a guy who is a very good technical boxer, great jab and everything, just like Till is, and Till's more of a kind of a Muay Thai stylist as well. But so is Masvidal. He kind of lifts that front leg and stuff as well. They're very similar stylists, but the old adage in boxing and striking and MMA, I suppose, the good big guy always beats the good little guy. And if it's a game of jabs, it's going to be very hard to beat Darren Till. I don't know the reach, but you'd think it's a good 5 or 6 inches longer than Masvidal. He's a lot bigger than Masvidal. That's the reason why I'm picking Till. I just think he's a better fighter as well. I think Masvidal's a guy who's at the same time underrated and overrated. Like, he's a guy, he's not a bad fighter, but he's not a great fighter either. So yeah, look, it should be a good fight.
Did Darren Till train seem to slow down an awful lot there after he lost, didn't it?
Look, it does.
Some fighters can recover and kind of people are hyped up on him again, but
it was always kind of it was in a house of cards. Really, it was built on. There was never anything real about the Darren Till hype, I don't think. Now, there was in Liverpool, don't get me wrong, that crowd in Liverpool was real, it was tangible, and the same for Paddy Pimblett and the other people like that as well. But I think the the whole build up about him being the best in the world or like a reigning champion. Now, look, he could have beaten Woodley.
I think coming into the Woodley fight.
And I don't know, did I pick him or not? But I think later on in the week, I was like, no, I think Woodley is going to win it handy enough. But like, Till is a guy who's still very early in his career, and he could go on and be it. But I still don't think he's real that standout, going to obliterate the whole division type of fighter that like a McGregor was coming up, or that like a Zabit looks like now, or an Adesanya looks like he could become. I think the Zabit is almost destined to be it unless Max Holloway stays there and fights for ages. Adesanya could be. I'm not 100% sure if he's destined to be that, but there you go anyway. I don't think Till is that, but he could be. He could, you know, we've seen lots of people transition. Woodley was never that, and he turned into that, so there you go.
Well, speaking of Till, he said Usman didn't face the same Tyron Woodley.
I'd nearly agree with him. Like, I was thinking about this after the podcast, and like, we see the weird thing about this is if you come on the podcast the day after Till or Usman and Woodley have fought, and you say, oh no, Woodley was bad, he was used, it's like taking away something from Usman, and I don't want to do that, but I want to be honest as well at the same time, and I did a bit of both, but coming out like a couple of weeks from it now, I really think Woodley looked horrendous. It was a very basic performance by Usman. He just jabbed inside, got inside, and took him down. Now, the wrestling, if the wrestling was way better than him, that may be an issue. That okay, the first one he got inside too easily. Maybe Woodley was like, okay, I'll let him inside. I'll test the wrestling, and I'll get away from him, and I'll beat him in the wrestling game, and then we'll strike, and I'll have the big advantage in the striking. But when he took him down so easily, maybe it was a thing that because he took him down so easily, that Woodley was like, oh shit, I can't let him get inside now, because every time he gets inside, he's the advantage in the wrestling, and he's going to be able to beat me in the wrestling. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's what played into his mind, and maybe Woodley lost his head very early in that fight. Maybe Woodley was injured, maybe he's getting old or something like that. But to me, it was a bad performance by Woodley. He just couldn't pull the trigger. He couldn't get anything off. Like, when that happens, right, I can give him the Usman getting inside and taking him down the first time. But when Usman does that, and then you get back to your feet, whether it's the end of the round or later in the round or whatever, you should be fighting. If you're a top level fighter, you're Tyron Woodley, who I think is one of the best game planners we've ever seen him. You should be fighting ways to get out of that. You should be fighting to stop. And he was obviously doing it, but it's easier said than done, I know. But I'm talking top elite level, you should be backing Usman up, not letting him get inside, not letting him jab inside, smashing him with that jab, coming over the top with the big right, trying to knock him out, trying to get him out of there, trying to box him up in the output. Now, whether it's he couldn't get in his cardio, he didn't feel he had the cardio, whether it's he was better in the strike or whatever, that's an issue. But whatever it is, Woodley was not good in that fight. Usman was very good. I wouldn't say it was like an excellent top display. I didn't think it's the type of display you'd need to beat Tyron Woodley, but he won it. Fair play to him. Yeah.
So, Robert Whittaker, he's come out saying that he doesn't see what all the hype is with Adesanya.
Yeah.
That he's not as good as the hype says he is.
Well, he's probably saying that because he's going to be fighting him in 2 fights time, maybe, or as long as Gastelum doesn't win. But I'd nearly agree with him a little bit. Now I'm Adesanya's. I don't see Team Sheehan or close to Team Sheehan now. I think he's really good, but he's not by no means the finished product. Adesanya, by no means the finished product. Like Whittaker is close to the finished product. He's a really, really great fighter, and if you're looking at him versus Adesanya at the moment, you'd have to give him the advantage in well-roundedness. But Adesanya is a tough matchup. He's really good. That Anderson Silva fight, Anderson looked okay in that fight, and Adesanya just absolutely took him out of it. Was an unbelievable display. So. Look, I can see why he's saying that for 2 reasons, because it's kind of true, and it's also because he's fighting him in 2 fights time, possibly. So that's probably why he's saying, and that could be a big fight as well in Australia. That could fill a stadium over in Australia. You know, 2 Australians. He's going to be the interim champion if he wins. Don't forget that as well. So it's going to be a unification bout between 2. Well, he's from New Zealand actually. Sorry, Jesus, that's like me calling someone Irish, fucking English. But there you go. Anyway, Anzacs, 2 Anzacs. That's the word. There you go. Go on. What's next?
So that's not much left now. Just other than the weigh-ins have happened for the UFC London, and Jack Marshman is the only one. Yeah, he's
fighting John Phillips, who's I think he's missed weight a couple of times before, but that should be a good fight. Yeah,
20% fine.
Yeah, 20%. Look, fair enough. Let him do that. Masvidal and Till all made weight anyway. No, this should be out well before that anyway.
171 Till.
Yeah. Look, should be good fights. Gunnar Nelson versus Leon Edwards. Obviously, we talked about it a lot on the podcast as well. They're fights. That's a fight that I find very hard to pick. It's very like the JKC Duffy fight. Like, I could pick one now and the other one, you know, first thing in the morning, and I could be a draw, so I could be wrong about both of them. That's more like, you know, it'll be like me anyway. But I don't know. I really, really don't know. Like, I saw a few people saying that Gunnar Nelson's jiu-jitsu will be too much for him, and, you know, Leon Edwards is a good wrestler and all, but he won't be able to, like, stop Gunnar Nelson maybe tying up on him and getting it to the ground once, and that once he gets there once, he could submit him. And that's a fair enough thing to say. Like, I wouldn't totally disagree with that, but I think Edwards' striking might be a little bit more technically good to go over 3 rounds. If it's a knockout, you might favour Gunnar Nelson, because he's had a few knockouts in the past before, and he's that kind of guy who can get a good knockout or get a finish. 16 of his 17 wins have been inside the distance. I think only 3 knockouts in fairness, with 13 by submission. So if it goes to the ground, you'd have to favour Gunnar Nelson. Although Leon Edwards is a good wrestler as well. It's one of them, like I did with the JKC Duffy fight. It's a very, very close fight. Pick 'em. It's the definition of a kind of a pick 'em fight. These two are.
Yeah. We have a few questions on Twitter.
Go on.
Will I shoot a few at you? You like this one?
No.
Ask him to ask him to ask you, how many goals will Liverpool win the Champions League by this year?
Yeah.
Also, on a scale of 1 to 10, how gutted are you going to be when Liverpool lift the league in May?
We can't talk about that thing now. It's too close to home. But look, Barcelona and Man United in the Champions League. I don't want to make this a soccer podcast. We already have one of them over in the SevereMMA podcast. But yeah, it could be Liverpool and Man United in the semi-final of the Champions League, but Man United will have to beat Barcelona. It's likely to be Barcelona versus Liverpool, so I wouldn't think Liverpool will win that, although they have a great chance. If they do win that, they'll win the Champions League. So I think they'll beat Juventus, to be honest. I think they'll beat Man City if they get there as well. So this is a big year. Liverpool could win the Champions League and the league this year. They really could, which is fucking sickening to me. But
so we have a few questions from Kieran Stapleton.
Go on.
Assuming
the Soup Lad, legend.
Assuming it goes on after Brave, assess Keane Cowley's performance.
Oh yeah, won't be after Brave. Oh yeah, has Brave already gone on? I don't know. I think he was supposed to fight it like earlier on. Let's see if he has fought. Live television here, everybody. I'm looking up Keane Cowley's name.
Oh, and while you're looking it up, he also asked, have you booked your next outing in Dublin for the SevereMMA wedding?
He hasn't fought yet. Oh yeah, Graham. I don't think he's getting married in Dublin. Breaking news there, so no. But he might have an old party above in Dublin or something, so we'll go up to it. Yeah, and Keane Cowley's a good fighter as well. Like, I think he's put an awful lot of his ground game and all. He's working a lot in his ground game. Like, I remember.
Did he fight in Bellator the last time?
No,
he was there with somebody.
Yeah. He was. Yeah.
He was cornering.
Keane Cowley, like, putting in the work, because the time we were down in Cork, he was doing a jiu-jitsu match a good while ago now, and he's been doing a lot of different jiu-jitsu things and wrestling and stuff as well. So, you know, he's obviously an unbelievable kickboxer. So that's what you want to put in. Get the wrestling there, get the jiu-jitsu there, and he could be a top fighter. Now, you know, we saw, and you know, he kind of admitted himself afterwards that his jiu-jitsu and his wrestling wasn't there in one of his previous fights. But you know, looked good in his last fight, and I haven't seen the result today if he's even fought yet. But yeah, it looks like a good prospect for the future.
So, final question.
Yes.
Any fights standing out for you in the London card?
Call them out to me. Do you have them?
Okay, Till Masvidal, Edwards and Gunnar Nelson.
Yeah.
Ozdemir and Dominic Reyes.
Yeah, Dominic Reyes could be a big fight for Dominic Reyes there if he wins that.
This should be good. Nathaniel Wood and Jose Alberto Quinones, is it?
Yeah, that should be a good fight. Always good to see Nathaniel Wood. He calling out, I think it was PT as well. He was calling out my boy Tom Ducamo as well. So that hopefully that'll happen next. Yeah, go on.
Oh yeah, Danny Roberts.
Hot chocolate.
Why is this after closing?
Yeah, your man, he's fighting a Brazilian dude, isn't he? Yeah, that's another good welterweight fight there. Or is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, I think it is.
Oh yeah, Claudio Silva,
yeah.
Jack Marshman and John Phillips.
Yeah, John Phillips, the white Mike Tyson. He's always good for a knockout, but Jack Marshman's a very, very good fighter as well. Big fight for John Phillips there.
Oh yeah, you've Arnold Allen and Jordan Rinaldi.
That's a good fight. Like, Arnold Allen doesn't fight that often, but he's a really, really top prospect. A lot of people calling him the best prospect in England now. So that's a big hype to live up to when you have the likes of Nathaniel Wood and Darren Till and people like that. So a big fight for him.
And another prospect from England is Mark DeCasey.
Yeah, DeCasey against Duffy. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. Yeah.
We have
Molly McCann is back as well, isn't he? Against Patricia Cohechera, I believe. Big fight for Molly McCann after she lost her UFC debut. Like, Molly looked like she was improving an awful lot when she won the Cage Warriors belt and all, and she came into the UFC and obviously didn't have the best performance, but like, that gym is, I don't know, struggling a little bit now. Adam Vintra lost there recently, Paddy Pimblett lost recently, Molly McCann lost her last fight. It's a big time for them, and you know, Liverpool, there's a big Liverpool fan base there, and she'll be hoping to get that win. If she can get the win, she could turn it all around and get back in there, but that's a huge fight for Molly McCann as well. Yeah.
There's one fight I just want to talk about it, just for the two hardest to pronounce names ever.
Go on.
Nikolay with an E on the end. Neg Munreo versus Safarov.
Oh yeah, Safarov's a good fighter actually. Yeah, that should be.
Tom Breeze is fighting as well.
Tom Breeze, yeah. Yes. Tom Breeze is the man. To me, Tom Breeze is the best prospect in England.
He's very good.
He is fantastic. He did beat him.
He was very good.
Destroyed him. Yeah,
he was very good.
He beat him down. He gave an awful beating down, but he is really good. It's his fitness. Like that team in Birmingham. Fantastic. Leon Edwards, Tom Breeze, Fabian Edwards. Who was the one there last week as well? I thought. God, I have a terrible memory. But that Birmingham team, I think it's Team Renegade or something like that, or maybe they used to be Team. I don't know. It's a Team Birmingham anyway. They're a fantastic team.
If you had to bet on really one of the Edwards brothers to be UFC champion, which one would you bet on?
Well, Fabian's in Bellator now. But
I know, but still,
Fabian.
He's so good.
He's
so good, isn't he?
He's unbelievable. Yeah. He is the future. He really is. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Tune in. Sign up SevereMMA.com /points. Price of a pint a month to sign up for Patreon. You'll get loads of things like this. Maybe we'll make this a YouTube series. Who knows? If you like it, let us know. Please tweet us if you like us at SevereMMA, at Sean Sheehan BA. What are you at Pat Sheehan 123?
At Pat Sheehan 123.
There you go. See you all next time. Good luck.